What it do, Fostering the People crew? Welcome back to another episode of Fostering the People podcast, a podcast that encourages everyone to go after the goals that they want to accomplish and really foster growth within themselves, regardless of the foundation they started with. So, before we dive into today's topic, I wanted to read a quick quote for you guys. Education is our passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. So, this is a famous quote by Malcolm X, and I don't think he was just talking about school. I think what Malcolm X was trying to tell people was that as human beings, we can never stop learning and growing. We have to continue expanding our minds and being influenced by people, by books, by just really anything that helps expand our minds and elevate ourselves, because a lot of people see education as an obligation. And I think what Malcolm X wanted us to see was that education is an opportunity. And it is something that if we continue to do, we'll never stay stuck. And so that is what we're going to dive into today. So I realized something about myself a long time ago that honestly was pretty detrimental to just my overall growth. And that was that whenever I asked someone something or I asked for advice about something, I took what they said at face value and ran with it. I never tried to verify or do my own research. I really just assumed that the person that I was speaking to was the expert and that whatever they said was the final answer and I should just run with it. But there was an experience that happened to me when I was in undergrad that kind of opened my eyes years later. It didn't open my eyes at that point, but years later. And I realized that a lot of people, their information that they share is based off of their experiences and their perspective. So when I was an undergrad, I was taking a class, and this particular professor was also the executive director of a master's program that I was interested in at the time. And so I met with him in his office, and I just, quickly shared information about myself. And you know what the first thing this man asked me? He asked me, "Do you have children?" Nothing I said in that moment during our meeting or even in this class indicated that I ever had kids. And if I did, that's fine, but like I didn't. And after I, answered that question, he was quick to say, well, this program is very competitive and you don't even have a 3.0 GPA. And so I just don't think you'd be a candidate. So I wouldn't even apply. Like I could just tell you now, you're not going to get in. So I took that as a blanket statement that I just would never get into any master's program. And for over a year and a half after graduating undergrad, I did not have faith or confidence in myself to even look into other programs, because this one person told me, this professor who I never had any problems with, I wasn't a bad student in his class or anything. So I just assumed that like the information that he was sharing with me was something that everyone would say to me. But what I didn't realize at the time was that the information that he was sharing with me was based off of his perspective and his biases. And I am so happy that I met other people in my life that influenced me to continue trying to go and get my master's degree, even though I was told no by someone who I felt had no reason to really lie to me. I don't think he was even lying to me. He was more so, again, just sharing his perspective based off of just the information that he had and his own biases. And so I say that all to say, as human beings, it's okay to be influenced by other people. It is okay to seek advice and get knowledge from people, but we cannot take everything someone says to us at face value, because we are human beings. And even if we don't like it, we have our biases and we have our own perspectives, and that influences the information that we share. And that is inclusive of me. This podcast is based on my experience and my overall perspective. And although this podcast is really meant to influence people, I'm sure that some things that I say may interpret it as negative. And although that's never my intention, and so I really hope that that's not the case, I can't control that. I can say what I just said, and hopefully that is something that people remember. But at the end of the day, like, as human beings, we all interpret things differently. And so I just say that all to say, take everything that someone says at face value, but always verify and do your own research, because the way that I got to where I needed to be is completely different from the way someone else may get to where they needed to be. But that doesn't mean that you can't be influenced by the steps that I took to get there. It just means you can't take the exact same steps to get to where you need to go as well. The next thing I wanted to say is confidence is not the same as correctness. So many people think that if someone says something with confidence, that they must be right. I myself thought that as well. And so that's why when I was told that I wouldn't get into a master's program because I did not have a 3.0 GPA, and so I might as well not even try, I took that and ran with it for a very long time until someone else shook me and was just like, girl, you can do it. You just got to stop listening to all the no's. You have to find your yes. And so I say that all to say, like, social media is really the biggest thing where people can go on there and say things with confidence, or say, oh, look at all this stuff that I got, and in order to do X, Y, and Z, you have to be just like me. But that is the beauty of being your own individual person, because everything that someone does may get them to where they want to go, but that may not be the same case for somebody else. So really, one of the most important things that you can do is verify. Do your own research. And even though you may be curious and you may listen to somebody, never take what they say at face value, because everyone can speak with confidence, but that does not mean that they are right. Do the research, ask more questions, read a book about it, but find out for yourself, because so many people can say things with confidence. And sometimes that information they're sharing could be based on good intention, but other times it could be just a way to deter you from going down the path that you want to go on, because they may see it as a threat, or whatever reason they may want to deter you. But not everything someone says with confidence is correct. And as human beings, we really cannot just trust everything someone shares with us. I'll give you an example. So, a doctor may prescribe one medicine, Dr. A, right? Dr. B may prescribe a different medication. And Dr. C may be like, you know what? We don't need to do medication this quickly. Here's what I want you to do instead. I want you to change your lifestyle and try these natural things first before we jump to medication. And those are all different perspectives. And as a human being, we need to verify and do our own research to figure out what plan is best for us. Because if we don't, like, even though the medicines may fix one issue, it may cause another issue. So, what does self education actually look like? I am not encouraging people to go back to school. Although I myself have my undergraduate and graduate degree, I know from just my own experiences that education, the formal sense of education, is not the route that everyone should take. And so, really, what I mean by self education is just doing your own research. And that could mean listening to a podcast, it could mean listening to a YouTube tutorial, reading a book, or simply asking people for advice. I love when I meet new people who seem interesting. We may not have things in common, but they just seem so interesting. And so I'll take them on a coffee date or something, and I'll just ask them more things about their life. And I found that through those just honest conversations and with like no expectation, that those people have been the most influential in my life over the past few years, because they really like help expand my perspective in just different ways that I never intended. And that's the thing about not setting expectations. If you don't set expectations, you'll always be surprised about what you get, because you'll never be disappointed because the expectation won't be set. Another thing, so you can even learn from yourself. After you do that life audit that we talked about in episode 4, you can take a step back and really say, okay, so how did I get here? What habits and traits did I develop that got me to this point? And how can I learn to navigate out of it? And so self education can be a plethora of things, but it really starts with just being curious and being interested in finding the answer. Now, I'm not just talking about Google and stuff, because Google is not the place for all the answers. It's not enough to try to find information on your own. We have to remember who the information is coming from, or what the information is coming from. Because a platform like Google, the stuff that you see in the forefront of like your Google search isn't necessarily correct. It's really just the stuff that is paid to be at the top or has more keywords. So that's why it's at the top of the page. But that doesn't make it right. And so we need to really dig and dive deeper to find the information that actually will work for us. So, when you stop learning, although it may seem comfortable, trust me, it can definitely be comfortable. You really put a ceiling above your head that you can break eventually, but if you don't stay intentional about it, it can limit your growth. Because even me, I love knowing what comes next. I am not good with uncertainty. So I know how comfortable it is to just feel good about knowing what comes next and not have to find out anything more. But we can't take that approach with everything, because when we stop learning, we actually are settling. And that is not something that we can do as human beings. We can't think that we know everything and that there's nothing else for us to learn. Even with AI, if we don't take the time to become aware about AI, then that means we are not expanding our knowledge to see what it can do. Now, I'm not saying we need to use it in everything, but to be like, oh, AI is horrible, don't use it, that particular information right there, they can come from two different kinds of people. People who truly believe that AI is horrible, or people who don't want everyone to understand how AI can be beneficial in their lives, so that they stay ahead of others who just swear up and down they don't want to use it. And so we really need to remember that it's okay to be comfortable in some instances, but learning and expanding our knowledge is not the place to do that with. And if we do, we are only leaving opportunities on the table for ourselves. And I don't think that's what any of us want. So, what does it look like to actually stay a student? I would say you have to foster your curiosity. Not what you think you should be learning, but what really encourages you to just get outside your box and just focus on that first. If you're curious about learning a new hobby, start there, because you never know where that could take you. And so don't just think that you learning is, like I said, in the formal sense, because it's not. So let's pause and think for a second. What questions have been sitting in the back of your mind that you just have continue to push back there? I would say one of them for me is like, I honestly, this podcast. This was something that I have been pushing in the back of my mind for a very long time. And through my podcast journey, I have been developing better public speaking skills. But had I never been curious to start this journey, you wouldn't see me here today. And so just continue expanding your mind, opening up those parts of your mind that you thought were buried forever, and run with it. Start there, figure out what's next, and continue down that path. The next thing is build a habit around it. So start by choosing one thing you're going to do. It could be as simple as once a month, you are going to meet someone new and have a coffee date with them to just learn more about them. That is something, one of my favorite things to do. And I really encourage everyone to do this. But start with that and make it consistent, because through consistency, you will start getting results. You cannot expect to do something once and expect results to happen immediately. Next thing is we really need to pay attention. So, yes, we are going to continue to foster curiosity. Then we're also going to pick that one thing that we're going to do consistently until we get the results that we want to see. And even once we get those results, we're going to keep doing that thing, because there's always more than just one result that can come from something. So the next thing we're going to do is pay attention to our own experiences. This is the same as auditing your life. And so the best education we can get is from in ourselves and learning from our past mistakes. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing we're going to do is never stop asking questions. In rooms where we feel completely uncomfortable and out of place, in conversations where we are talking to people that we want to be influenced by, and even in moments where we have no idea what this person's talking about and it's just a lot easier for us to just not in agreement, we're going to stop. We're going to stop and we're going to ask the questions, because that is where elevation happens. And after we do all these things, we're going to verify for ourselves. We're not just going to take what people say at face value. We're going to keep expanding that knowledge. We're going to take notes so that we can refer to them later and expand on them. Even the things that sound right, even the things that come from people that we feel that we can trust, even from this podcast, okay? Just go find out for yourself, always. So what I want to say in closing is education is not a season for your life. It is something that is continuous. And the people who continue to go after more at every stage or age of their life are the people who remain curious and never stop learning. They keep asking questions. They never settle for the first response that they get, and they always dig deeper. And really, if you don't have people to influence you in your life, there's always other ways to find the answer. And so let's not wait for someone else to give us those answers. Sometimes we just got to figure it out ourselves. And through figuring out ourselves, we'll meet other people to continue influencing us to find out more. And the best thing is, this is available to you today, right now. So there's no reason for you not to do it. And so the challenge that I want to leave you guys with for this week, until next time, is pick one thing that you are curious about and foster that curiosity. Just choose one action that you're going to do for this week, or honestly, let's take it up a notch. Choose one thing that you're going to practice for the rest of this month and do that and see what results you get. But don't just do that one thing. Continue to take notes and self-assess to see what is working and what's not working and what you're learning throughout the process. And if something I said today does not sit right with you, good, go figure out the answer for yourself, because that's exactly what I want. Educate yourself to elevate your life. So thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Fostering the People podcast. Again, my name is Alana. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment, and give us a 5-star rating. Again, we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and make sure you follow our social media pages at Facebook and Instagram. And a girl is even on TikTok, okay? I got on TikTok for you guys. So tune in on all those platforms, and I'll see you next Monday.